Hello, scholars. Welcome to our new history unit of study, Elizabethan England. Today we are doing lesson number 1, our objective, what we are going to be learning, right? What I hope you gain from our lesson today. We will learn about Henry the Seventh becoming the King of England, and we will learn about Henry the Seventh's quest to continue the Tudor family rule over England forever. Our story begins with Henry the Seventh. Henry Tudor, as he was known before he became king, was the last ruler of England to win the throne by battle or by war. What that means is that the rulers after him all inherited the throne from a relative, a son succeeding his father, a cousin succeeding a cousin, a sister, yes, a sister, succeeding her brother, and so on. Right? So the line of rule stays in that family instead of fighting in battle or war about who's going to rule. Henry Tudor defeated Richard III at the end of the War of the Roses to claim the throne and become King of England. This was the beginning of the line of Tudor family rule. Henry VII had already fought a war to get England's throne. He didn't want another war to start after he died, especially a war over who would rule as his successor. He wanted to make sure that his son and his grandson and his great grandson would all inherit the throne after him, peacefully and without any arguments. But how do you make sure your family keeps the throne? Hmm. Well, scholars, you keep the throne in your family by being sure your son has a son, and that 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 son has a. Well, you get the idea. Now, maybe you're wondering, well, why not a daughter? Well, scholars, in this period of history, it was relatively unheard of, especially in Europe, to have a female ruling a country. Now, yes, there were queens, but these queens were simply married to the kings, the wife of the king, not a ruler of any sort, not really a decision maker for a country, certainly not in charge of a country's people, wealth, livelihood. But listen, scholars, spoiler alert, that's going to change during this study. So, wanting, of course, to make sure that the line of rule stayed in his family, Henry arranged for his oldest son to get married so that he could start a family and have a son as well, continuing the line of Tudor men ruling over England. The problem was Arthur was only 2 years old, and the bride, who was the daughter of the King of Spain, was only 3 years old. There was even a wedding ceremony with grown ups standing in for them. Since the groom was asleep and the bride was busy chewing on the hem of her wedding dress, they had to have grown ups stand in to represent them at the wedding. This is what is called a proxy wedding, which is just a symbolic gesture. What a proxy wedding means is that the two of them, Arthur and Catherine, had to get married as soon as they were old enough. So, when Arthur was 15 and Catherine was 16, they had their real wedding. Everyone feasted and sang songs and hoped that the two of them would have children right away, especially Henry VII. Because remember, he's wishing there would be a line of Tudor sons to rule England forever. Arthur and Catherine went away to live in a castle of their own and to start a family. Now remember, Arthur is heir to the throne, next in line to rule when his father dies. But only 6 months after their wedding, Arthur came down with a fever and died. What does that mean about the heir to the throne? Well, now, with his oldest son dead, the heir to the throne was Arthur's little brother Harry, right? Henry VII's younger son. Now, Henry VII, of course, still wanted to make sure the line of Tudor family rule would always continue by his younger son, Harry. So, Henry VII arranged for his son, Harry, to get married. Ready for this? Henry VII arranged for Harry to get married to Arthur's wife. Yes, that's right. Arthur's wife, Catherine, after losing her husband to fever, would now be marrying Arthur's younger brother, Harry. You see, Henry VII wanted to keep a strong tie between England and Spain, where Catherine was from. Remember, she's the daughter of the King of Spain. Because Catherine had been married to Harry's brother, they had to get special permission from the Pope in order to marry each other. When the Pope agreed, Harry and Catherine got engaged to be married. But then, before the wedding of Harry and Catherine could take place, Henry VII died. And Harry became King of England at the age of 17. And that, scholars, is where we are going to stop for today. So let's check on our objectives. So we learned about, we learned about Henry VII becoming the King of England, right? Coming in, battling against Richard III to claim the title of King of England. And we learned, not will learn, about Henry VII's quest to continue the Tudor family rule over England forever, right? That idea of his sons having sons and those sons having sons and continuing his family, the Tudor family, ruling over England forever. The assignment now is to open the Google form, answer the questions about today's lesson, and remember, you can come back to this lesson, right? Listen to information again, look at the slides again. But when you're finished, remember to click the submit button at the bottom of the Google form. Good luck. Thanks for joining me for today's lesson.